Have you ever received a piece of writing that for some reason just felt off to you? Maybe it was a text from a friend or somebody you know but not that well. Maybe it was an email from a colleague or a coworker, and it just left you with an ick, right? It just felt a little cringe, like something was in it that just rubbed you the wrong way. Well, it happens all the time, actually. People, whether they consciously or subconsciously do it, layer into their writing, their texts, their emails, and even their face-to-face speech. They layer in elements that are, well, let's just say, less than honest and acting in integrity. So today, we're going to take a look at one such email from Ryan Reynolds to It Ends With Us author Colleen Hoover. And we're just going to take it step by step and look at some of the ways that deception and manipulation are layered into what on face value is meant to be seen as a nice, supportive email. So, let's get into it. Okay, guys, welcome to Justice for All. I am Aaron Justice, and we are just going to dive straight into this thing. Now, for context, this is from Ryan Reynolds to Colleen Hoover, the author of the novel It Ends With Us. And he sends this shortly after the premiere. And the film comes out. It's actually a big hit. Obviously, there was controversy already surrounding Blake and our products and everything with Thirsty Flaw. But he sends this letter, an email, to Colleen. And this is a professional letter. Just keep that in mind as we go along. So I'm going to put it up here, but I'm also going to read through it personally. And then we're going to make stops along the way to discuss and dissect some of the chunks here. Now, is this going to be a full deep dive onto what is actually going on here? No, we're just going to do a very quick kind of glossing over an overview of, the tactics that may or may not be at play here. So let's dive in. Okay, so, God, right off the bat, it's beyond ick and cringe. And so what do we have here? First, let's just look at the language. Extricate myself from the Sony studio chairman's mouth. I'm still in here and surprised I have service. What is this? What language are we using here? What picture are we? This is just strange, right? Not if you know Ryan Reynolds and his brand of humor that he's come to lean on over the years, which we'll talk about that in more detail later. The reason I'm pointing this out here is because this is a professional email. Remember, this is a colleague of his wife. Ryan Reynolds barely, if at all, really knows this woman. This isn't like a pal or a chum that he's shooting the breeze with down at the local pub over a few brews, right? This is an email sent to his wife's colleague. And he's talking about extricating himself from a boss's mouth and then using the phrase, holy fuckity fuck. Like, who says these things in a professional email from one professional to a different professional colleague? And holy fuckity fuck, this is teenager language, right? This is who uses that term at all. It's pertinent here because this is what Ryan Reynolds has come to lean on over the years. A lot has been said about his talent, or lack thereof, as far as his thespian endeavors, as far as what he can actually do on screen in the talent, or lack thereof, regarding acting and building and portraying a character. But he's majorly successful. Even after, Green Lantern and Safe House and all of these different films, he still keeps getting work. And one of the big reasons is he found the niche that was perfect for him, not as an actor, but as an individual, a person. Really, kind of famously, Reynolds has had some of these issues in his acting and in his language and his comedy before. Famously, Wesley Snipes on the Blade movies just went to his trailer and wouldn't even engage with him because he later said, I don't really understand what this guy's doing with his brand of comedy. The first film he was in, they had to stop and go in and ask him because he was doing this comedic type shtick. Like, what are you doing? This isn't how we envision this character. And he was almost fired from that job. Denzel Washington made jokes about his talent and ability and what he brought to the Safe House movie that they were in together. And then, of course, there's his first superhero outing, Green Lantern, where, coincidentally, he met Blake Lively and may or may not have had a little thing there. But Green Lantern was received so poorly that it was said around town in the circles that this guy may never work again. He might be blacklisted from any kind of A-list movie or working with A-list talent. Now, of course, we know that didn't end up happening, and the reason it didn't is because he found his shtick. He found in internet social media terms what we would call the niche. It's that intersection of what he can give versus what the audience responds to. And so this is that classic Van Wilder, irreverent, offbeat, sophomoric type comedy where we tell a bunch of, immature jokes and use poor and vulgar language in strange ways like fuckity fuck. And people gravitate toward that. They think it's charming. They think it's humorous. They think, oh, it's so cute. And before, obviously, it worked on people. People wanted to see, the comedic Van Wilder type who also is classically handsome and is fit and all the things. It certainly works for Deadpool. And that's why it was such a huge hit and a major franchise for him, is Deadpool is actually all of the elements that Ryan Reynolds leans on for acceptance and validation and popularity. It's all of those elements combined together in a product that the market already desires, which is superhero storytelling, action. So he knows that, and he's able to use that as leverage to, let's just say, let some of his darker sides show through. And so we see him using that here on Colleen Hoover. Both of these people, Blake and Ryan, they know how Hollywood works, and that being major celebrities, people want to be brought into the fold. They want to be liked. They want to be praised by them. They want to be a part of that in crowd, because Hollywood, like DC and everywhere else in the world, it's really just a more glorified high school setting. It's sad and it's ridiculous. But we see all of those elements coming out, not just in this letter, but in many, many instances of their behavior all across the film and into post-production and thereafter. So, what else is going on here with the language? Now, before we move ahead, quick disclaimer. I am not making a diagnosis. I am not making certain truth claims about exactly what is happening here. I don't know that. I don't know enough. None of us do, to make these assertions about what may or may not be happening. What we are doing is taking what we have, the evidence, the language, the email itself, and just trying to play a little game of Clue and pick up on patterns and cues that may hint at some of the behavior and the thought patterns that are going on here that led to that behavior. Why are we doing this? So we can garner a better understanding of not just the psychology behind this episode, but using that psychology to better inform ourselves about how these different people operate in these settings. Because guess what? We encounter it ourselves all the time. This is very common in this world, and not just in Hollywood or these more elite type industry. In corporate America, in a capitalistic society, this type of thing happens all the time. So let's see what we can garner from a more clinical perspective. True to form, this email begins with an explosion of praise, jumping up and down, rapid happy clapping, all of this intense, over-the-top kind of praise and emotion. This is something that we call emotional flooding. And what is known more commonly, especially on the internet now in this day and age, is, of course, love bombing. Now, love bombing is a term that we typically use in the context of romantic relationships, but you get the idea how that concept can be known less clinically and more socially here as this kind of love bomby type of vibe, love bomb energy. Regardless, it's emotional flooding. This is when someone uses this excessive affection and they want to use it to fast-track this kind of closeness. By fast-tracking this closeness, it establishes a power dynamic that is often very unhealthy. This is, of course, not to be confused with normal levels of praise. People praise and uplift each other all the time. That's great. What makes this different is this man barely knows Colleen. We've already established this is a work-type email. It's a professional email. He's met her a couple of times, maybe, had a couple of surface-level conversations, but nothing that is going to elicit this type of flowery kind of praise that is really just over the top and unnecessary. And so we have to take a look at what this intensity brings. And one of the aspects of the false dichotomy, the power dynamic that it creates, is a subconscious sense of obligation. Now, the way this is utilized, and this goes in romantic relationships, of course, but here in this emotionally love-bombing type of way professionally, it sets the course. We have an A-list movie star like I said before, he and Blake, they already know that people want to be close to them. They want to be in their orbit. They want to get inside the in club and all of the different aspects of that are valuable to someone who's trying to climb this social ladder, so to speak, or socioeconomic ladder within the realm of this industry. So he already has the leg up. So he knows if I just go a little bit over the top and I'll throw in my Benoit type charm, then of course this woman who wants career success, wants to be accepted, wants to be admired by the handsome, if immature, movie star, it doesn't take much. And then when you hit someone with that level of praise and admiration, what's going to happen automatically? It gives a subconscious sense of obligation. Oh, this person is saying these wonderful, flowery, beautiful things to me. It catches you off guard in the moment. When it catches you off guard, all of a sudden, what is the natural inclination? We all have the subconscious need to belong. When you throw in the extra power dynamic of richness and fame, then you've got this subconscious obligation of, oh, now I have to be nice. Now I have to, say something back. Now I want to be in this club and he's giving me that attention. So now I have to change and tailor my behavior accordingly. We know this because has Colleen come out and said now that this whole mess has erupted, she said that she felt forced to choose between Blake and Ryan and Justin. And we see the choice that she made, which lets us know exactly who this woman is as far as her character. Think about it. Justin read this book. He sought Colleen Hoover out. He wanted the rights. He praised her in a proper way that's according with the work of art, the novel that she put out, and said, I want to take your beautiful work and I want to turn it into a film that empowers victims of DV and women everywhere who have been SA'd in a number of things, DV'd, and I want to take you along the ride with me. And he did that. And just so everyone knows, usually, typically, how this goes, unless, or even if it's an A-list writer like Stephen King, they go in and purchase the rights. And if they pay you for the rights to your intellectual property, that's it. They don't owe you anything else. You might, if you're well known or you have connections, get invited onto the set. If you have certain people like Baldoni where it's like, no, I want to work with that artist that created the novel. I want to work with them on the script and get their notes. But typically the way it's run, once you pay for the rights, like you have no quote unquote right to be a part of that project anymore in any way, shape, or form. It's considered done and done, right? Quentin Tarantino is a writer-director now. Of course, he does all of his own stuff. But before Reservoir Dogs, he wrote the scripts of True Romance and Natural Born Killers. He wasn't on that set. He wasn't contributing anything, right? Oliver Stone took over Natural Born Killers, right? Tony Scott took over True Romance. They made their films off of his script, and he didn't have any say going forward. So I'm saying all this to say, Colleen Hoover, she got to go on this ride with Justin because Justin cared enough, respected her artistry enough and her opinion to take her along the ride for 5 years with this thing. And she had nothing but wonderful remarks, hugging, smiling, laughing with Justin along that way. It was only after it went into production and she came into contact with you-know-who, because Colleen says she wasn't really on the set that much, even though Justin did tell her that, she could do whatever she liked. They had a screenwriter. She wasn't needed there. Colleen wasn't on the set very much. She didn't need to be. There's no point in her being there. Yet, someone still got in her ear behind the scenes. And the way they do that is they use emotional manipulation and this praise that sucks you in. Oh my gosh, the wonderful movie stars who can benefit my career and my ego so much, they're saying all these things. And then that shows the character. What about the guy over here who actually cared about me, who actually cared about my work, who actually loved the novel, loved it so much? He is the only reason all of this exists to begin with. And yet, when just sprinkled in with a few words, I'm going to believe this person over what I know that man to be. I'm going to believe this person. I'm going to believe the guy who uses phrases like fuckity fuck. And I'm going to go that way. Slippery slope. But I digress. Let's continue. What are we seeing here? Well, we're seeing Ryan establish a dichotomy, right? He's already lured her in with the flowery language, the love bomb-esque type of thing. So now, what is he luring her into? He's luring into a dichotomy of what? The light, the dark, the good, the bad. There's us, and there's them. It's inviting this person in to be a part of the in crowd. It's them, they have the light. She has the light. Coming over and joining this team. This is a classic psychological in-group, out-group split. Social identity theory shows that human beings bond faster when there's a shared enemy. It creates this space that says, we are safe, we are good. They are dangerous, they are the threats, they are bad. And when you're inviting someone into that fold, especially when you already have this fame and fortune, Hollywood power dynamic that's presiding over the entire situation, it's all the more enticing. Why? Because we as human beings, in our subconscious, we are pre-wired to want to fit in. We want to be in this group or that group, depending on where on a social hierarchy and a group exists in accordance with what you feel that you want to live out, or maybe even what you feel you deserve or are entitled to. And so when somebody comes along and they have this power dynamic of being the rich, famous couple or the rich, famous guy, and all the flower language starts coming out, it's very enticing because that subconscious is automatically drawn to that and wants to be in that group. It says that, yes, this is how we stay safe. This is how we progress in this hierarchical nature of the Hollywood industry that she is now a part of. Now, as soon as he establishes that dichotomy of us versus them, lures her in, and gets her onto, quote-unquote, the side of the light, then comes the little microaggressions against that third party, right? There's a direct derogatory attack. You must be trying to rid yourself of any residual Baldoni. We have now identified who good and bad is. Good, Ryan and Blake. Bad, Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer. And now you're coming over to the light. This is called triangulation. In family system psychology, triangulation happens when someone builds intimacy by pulling in another person into their alliance against someone else. And so there's a powerful bonding through hostility. It's that powerful bonding that comes in sharing a common enemy. Think about how we look at sports here in America or across the world. When we have two teams opposing each other, of course, the one team looks at bad teams bad. We're the heroes. We're the good guys. And if you meet fans or other people at a sports-oriented party, people will immediately bond, especially within groups of men. People will immediately bond in their common hatred of that other team, the opposing team, even to the point of violence, as we've seen in different bars and at stadiums across the country. It's rather ridiculous, but it's very powerful when someone uses it subconsciously to bring someone into a relationship that's antagonistic to someone else. And so we can see what he's doing here. And we already know that Blake has been doing this on set the whole way through up to this point because she admitted to doing this to Ben Badgley on the Gossip Girl set. We already know she knows how to do it, and she's fully aware. She's conscious of it. This isn't a subconscious thing where they think that, oh, we're in the right. No, this is a conscious effort to manipulate someone. And they did it to Jenny Slate and to her, the author, that knew Justin for 5 years. And that's what's really sad here. 5 years of a friendship and a working relationship with this man and had nothing but glowing terms to speak about him. And now we can see them moving into this moral grandstanding, right? Not only is Ryan the good guy, because he's Ryan Reynolds, he's Deadpool, he's Van Wilder, but now her and Blake are partners. They are together. There's a victory lap. There's a testament to their fortitude. And especially because they are both women in a system that is ready to give up and wipe their hands clean of women. Now, that is not me saying that there isn't an issue with women and equality and pay scales in Hollywood. There certainly is, and I believe in all of that. What I am saying is that this is a man who knows these things, and instead of being supportive, which is the front that he's trying to put out, he's actually weaponizing that and using it against these women, in this instance, Colleen, to manipulate, and to coerce, into siding with him under the false light that he is the good guy. Remember, this is the man who is talking about people with ill intentions trying to warm their hands from Colleen's light. This is the man that's painting the other side, the other people, as he really is in that moment. This is a classic tactic. I've experienced this clinically with clients. I've experienced this in my own relationships. I was in a personal relationship years ago where I was astounded that the individual I was in a relationship with is sitting there listing out all of the things that she was doing and saying to me without even a hint of self-awareness, self-assessment. Here he is doing the same thing. He's pinpointing out the exact negative qualities, painting it on other people when it's really him that's doing it covertly all along. Now, whether he knows this, whether he's conscious of it, or it's a subconscious thing, well, we don't know that for sure. I have my feelings on it, though. Now, he caps off this bad boy with, again, returning to flattery in a love-bombing type of way. I could literally write you 85 more paragraphs eulogizing what all of this means to me. And then, of course, he's offering a cottage to her that they have an hour outside of New York if she needs to go and get away and unplug from the digital chaos and internet anxiety that they have created. And, of course, taps it off with lots of love. It really can't be understated. Now, some people would read that ending and may even read into it the notion of isolation, that he's trying to isolate her away from the public. And in romantic relationships and even familial or friendships, this is obviously a commonly held and practiced tactic. Here, I don't think it applies just because of the dynamic between them. It may, sure, tell me what you think. But I'm leaning more towards this is just another way to capitalize on a tidbit of information he knows. Oh, she's not feeling well. They have a tummy bug, right? He's spotting vulnerability. Okay, how can I swoop in and be the white knight movie star to her vulnerability? Oh, look, I have a property that's just out here, and that would be perfect for you and whoever Redacted is to just go and hang out. And that further isolates allegiance. How could I possibly see anything bad or go against the movie stars that are literally giving me, countryside cottages? So, in the end, what do you guys think? There's a lot of people that had a lot of feedback about this, and rightly so, which is the whole reason for me making this video, is to dive in and see what are people talking about here. I by no means have covered everything. There's a lot more that could be said about this, but this is already running long. A couple things that I want to point out to leave you with that are important here. Language. Fuckity fuck. Going on, about gulags and vomiting and all of this. It's not appropriate for a professional letter. He's breaking barriers there, and he's doing it on purpose for a reason, which means this isn't the first time he's done this. Now, of course, we've also seen other texts and emails at this point, which verifies exactly what we were just talking about. So, next, he's talking about women and the issue of women in Hollywood, which is a very real issue. But he's acting as someone who lifts it up and supports it while taking a man down. And another one I haven't seen as many people talk about, which is he mentions he couldn't extricate himself from the Sony executive's mouth. Now, that could just be him saying, oh, he was just talking my ear off. I couldn't get away long enough to talk to you. It could be that. But knowing his humor and this Van Wilder Deadpool type shtick that he does of being inappropriate, saying this calls to mind it carries sexual connotations, does it not? I'm not saying that's exactly what he was going for, but I'm just saying, if it's even in question, do you put it in a professional email? Speaking of professional email, what is he even doing here? You guys have businesses and partners, marriages, really. Would you find it acceptable if your partner, your spouse, was talking to your coworkers or colleagues or employees, sending out letters like this and speaking this way? Why are you even here? This has nothing to do with you, except for the one thing that's actually not mentioned in this letter, which is the whole engine running this debacle, this catastrophe. He didn't say anything about it here. He didn't even act like that's a thing. He talks about Baldoni being toxic and you got to rid yourself of him in vomiting and gulags and whatever. But is this how you speak about, hey, you're trying to lift up women here, but you're not calling out the very behavior of this man is a predator, like you try to do in other letters? Why didn't you mention it here? There's nothing said about it. It's just more of the same, which is the nice pool. I don't like this guy, so I'm going to be an a-hole. I'm going to be a bully. That's what we get. Well, character. Character, my friends. So, this is running long. Let's leave it here. By all means, let me know what you think in the comments. Always be respectful to each other, to myself. No need to be ugly here. We don't want to be like the people we're discussing. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I am Aaron Justice. Till next time, stay curious. Stay critical. Lead with an open heart. See you next time.